Susan, you're muted.
Sorry, my unmute didn't unmute me. Having that kind of a day, and it's not even Mercury retrograde. So thank you to all of you who are joining us on this first very hot day of the summer. I think we're cursed with this workshop last year. It was in the 90s when we did it. But we appreciate all of you who are staying inside and being a part of this. I want to also thank Cindy Hansen, who has been our Orca Month coordinator extraordinaire this year, really taking on a lot all by herself and doing a great job. This is Orca Network and Pinco Water Festival's Orca Month event. We have been doing, along with the Orca Salmon Alliance and some of their staff and our volunteers, Orca Month events all month long. So you can go to the Orca Month website or the Orca Month Facebook page to see what's been going on, and there are recorded videos of many of those events. But Cindy is our education and advocacy coordinator and is our Zoom master who keeps us all going and makes things run smoothly. And Katie Watkins is there. She is there. She is our Langley Whale Center manager, but is always roped into helping us with these events and helping run the videos and kind of keeping an eye on things. And we really appreciate your help, Katie. Just glad to have you all here. And of course, Howard Garrett. I'm Susan Berta. I always forget to introduce ourselves. We are the co-founders of Orca Network. We had our 20th birthday last November, and we have been doing Orca Month since 2007. And it's a month to celebrate and raise awareness and instill action to be taken to help save the threatened, endangered southern resident orcas. So I want to start with just acknowledging that wherever you are, you and we are on tribal lands. Especially the Salish Sea here in the Northwest has been home for generations to the Coast Salish peoples. We honor their traditions, their history, their presence today, their knowledge, the knowledge they have and their connection with nature and how they see it and interact with it is something that we all need to learn more about and be a part of. And that is one of the reasons we are doing these webinars. This is our second. We did one last year with the Pinco Water Festival, and you can find that on Orca Network's YouTube channel. That was a 2-day event. This year we're just doing the 1 day. But we really believe that, especially in today's world where there's so much polarity and division, that we need to not only respect and honor what the Native peoples bring to our world today, but to respect and honor and learn from their generations of presence here and their knowledge. So this event is one of the ways we do that. And we hope you will learn from it and want to learn more and enjoy what we have in store for you today. So we will start with a tribal blessing from our friends Rosie and Bill with Salish, who have been a part of many of our events and have a real connection to the Salish Sea and to the orcas.
Once again this year to be
an opener for the Orca networks and for the orcas. You know that what we have out here is the kingdom of orcas, the kingdom of our ancestors. I want to sing a song for our ancestors here on this beautiful island of Lopez, which a lot of orcas call home as well. We wonder, where do they call home? They're like us. They have gathering villages. They have family to visit. So I'm going to sing a song to invite their spirits all over here. Invite their spirits into the bay here. Ask them to come and be one together with us on the sacred day that we honor them. My dad, his best friend was an orca. His other best friend was a goat that he found one time as a child, orphaned. Don't know what happened to its mother. But he used to paddle around the islands with that goat until they found their friends, the orcas. And friends that soon became family. The lummies, Tlalops, Swinomish, Kikialis, and the Mitchell Bay, Upper Skagit, they're all connected to orcas. All the Coast Salish are connected. Over on the coast, the peninsula, all connected to orcas. All the wildlife are connected to the orcas. The eagle and the orca have a special bond. When the orcas are having a feast, the eagles clean up after them, and what is so ironic is they're both the same color. Eagles black and white, orcas black and white. Okay, I will sing this here song. Ya hey ya hey ya hey. Ooh ya hey ya. Ya hey ya. Ya hey ya. Ya hey ya. Ya hey ya hey ya hey yo.
Rosie and Bill have been such a big part of so many events all the year through, and we are just very thankful to have them share for this one for us today. Next, we have a video from Governor Inslee. We have had governors sign proclamations for Orca Month since 2007, starting with Governor Gregoire and now with Governor Inslee. And they have all felt the importance of the orcas. And here we have Governor Inslee sharing a statement with us for Orca Month.
Hi, Governor Inslee here, and I am so pleased to join you today to celebrate Orca Action Month. We know our beloved southern resident killer whales are threatened with extinction, and their survival depends on our actions. A few years ago, I launched a task force, as you know, to identify the actions that can save these incredible creatures. Pollution, lack of salmon, noise, they all contribute to the orca's decline, and we know climate change will add even more stress. So we know the challenges, so what are we going to do about them? Well, when it comes to pollution, we're reducing the many pollutants that come from land and end up in the bodies of orca and salmon, and we're speeding up the cleanup of toxic sites around Puget Sound. We're requiring more tug escorts for the oil tankers to reduce the possibility of oil spills. But we know if we don't save the salmon, we won't save the orcas. So this past session, we went big on salmon recovery. We have the cleanest and greenest transportation package, historic investments to increase salmon populations, from habitat restoration to stormwater reduction. We are making a real commitment to salmon for our orcas and the salmon as well. We got to increase that habitat. We got to reduce toxicity. So we also know vessel noise interferes with salmon's orca ability to hunt. So we passed new rules that quiet the waters by making sure vessels go slow and stay away from orcas. But despite our recent success, we know we got to do more. We celebrate each birth, we mourn each loss, and we know that their future is uncertain. So we've got to up our game every week in this endeavor. So I hope this month inspires you to remain fully engaged in this effort. By working together, we know we can make a difference. I can't think of something that is closer to the hearts of Washingtonians than our commitment to our orcas. Be well.
It was nice to have that greeting and video from the governor, and we thank and appreciate the governor's office for supporting Orca Month all these years. So before we move into the water festival portion of the event, I want to share a video that I made in remembrance of Jim Hilaire, Lummi Elder, and Jim Freeman, Whidbey Island's conductor of fun and MC extraordinaire. They were both our canoe race announcers for the Penn Cove Water Festival since the early 90s. They both also participated in Orca Network events. Jim Freeman is who put the fun in our Welcome the Whales parade every April. And Jim Hilaire and his family helped us with an event to honor the Southern resident orca named Lummy. And they both loved orcas and followed what was happening with Toki Tai. Jim Hilaire passed last summer and Jim Freeman passed last weekend. And it's just so sad and unbelievable to think about not being able to joke with them at the next Fan Cove Water Festival. Both the Welcome the Whales parade and the Water Festival canoe races, where I helped volunteer, were two of my favorite events because these guys were part of those events, and I just love them both. And they were both so full of love and fun. And we all became good friends, and the two of them became good friends. And I was looking at an email that Jim Freeman had written me last year after we heard Jim Hilaire had passed, saying he just couldn't believe that he wouldn't be talking and joking with him again. And I felt the same, and now I feel the same about losing Jim Freeman. We're going to follow the video with a video by Micheline Holiday of J-Pod going past San Juan Island last week or earlier this week. It's a beautiful video of the whales swimming free and being together, and in the spirit and the belief of Coast Salish natives that our ancestors are become whales, or the orcas are our ancestors. I really believe that Jim and Jim are out there swimming with the whales, free of pain, and I hope they're joking and laughing and catching up. Okay. After that nice breath of orca air, orca breath, I want to move on to talk a little bit about the Pen Cove Water Festival, which was started in 1992. Back then I was a WSU Island County Beach Watchers Coordinator, and we started the event working with the Island County Museum and tribes from all over. And our intent then was very much what our intent today with this webinar is, to share the native culture of this land with people and to have a focus on the environment and the water and what to do to take care of it. And we brought back the canoe races, which had happened historically in the 1930s in Coopville, when some townspeople brought the tribes to do canoe races and had a big festival. So without having a clue what we were doing, we restarted the canoe races and the Pen Cove Water Festival was born. It's been just a delight to see it grow and change over the years. We've had many different people involved and volunteers making it happen. It's a lot of work, but it's such a unique event and such an important one. We really want to see it continue into the future. And we're at a point in these times when there's a lot of need in our communities and a lot going on, where we need more volunteers and more board members to help the Water Festival move forward. So I really hope you'll enjoy what the videos and pieces of the Water Festival that we are going to show you today. And I hope that some of you might be inspired to want to become a part of it and to volunteer or help. You can go to pencovewaterfestival.com or the Pen Cove Water Festival Facebook page and send us a message that way, or you can email me, susan@orcanetwork.org, if you are interested in helping out. It's an event like no other, and we would really like to see it continue for generations to come. This year, the Water Festival was not able to happen for 2 years because of COVID. This year, we were able to do a partial Water Festival. We couldn't do the canoe races because of some of the COVID restrictions and not being able to get a marine permit that far in advance, not knowing what May, May was going to be like. But they were able to have the festival up in Town Park in Coopville and had many of our favorite musicians and storytellers come and be a part of the festival. So Cindy went to videotape much of it so we can share some of that. We also first want to start off though with a video about the Water Festival, and then followed by the video of Coopville Mayor Molly Hughes doing the welcome at this year's festival. So enjoy and become inspired and become a part of the Pen Cove Water Festival. It needs you.
Hey-ya-ho, ah, hey-ya, hey-ya-ho, hey-ya-ho. festival is important to me because it gives both Native Americans and non-Native Americans an opportunity to come together for a day to share culture, particularly for the Caucasian or the non-Native tribal folks. Gives them an opportunity to learn more about the tribal nations, particularly the Coast Salish that we have here in Northwest Washington.
But then again, this community, this little town, this little community, they come together, they put this cool little event on. It's free, everybody comes, you know, and when the weather's great, it's awesome. And I just meet so many great people, and people are so kind.
I think the festival is important for the community because it helps bring tourists into the area, and it helps our merchants, our local merchants. But it also brings the coastal tribes back to their native land, and I feel very strongly that it's good for them to come back to their heritage and to their land here, the land that was once theirs.
When the community gets together, I mean, they can do some really neat things. And once again, this event, you know, brings the community together. And then you have, you know, the young people that have never been exposed to, you know, cultural music and dance. You know, you might see it in a book, you might see it in a video. You can come here and, you know, and everybody, it's, how should I say, intertribal. Because to quote my friend Gene Tagaman, we're all tribal people.
My involvement with the Pin Cove Water Festival, from my personal standpoint, just brings me closer to the tribal folks, and that's very meaningful for me. It's a very spiritual experience for me.
For thousands of years, Northwest natives have used cedar canoes to traverse Puget Sound and the rivers that flow into it. Among the many types of canoes developed over hundreds of years, some were used for racing. The men shown in these 1930s news films of the water festival had probably canoed all night before reaching Coopville in the early morning, then raced into Pin Cove all that day. Slim and sleek, they sped through the water powered solely by up to 11 pullers. A family or tribe's honor was bound up in the strength of the men in a canoe. 3 11-man canoes participated in the first water festival. Later, up to 22 tribes attended, with most joining in the races. They continued this tradition until 1942 because of the Second World War. However, in 1991, a group of Whidbey Islanders revived the Pin Cove Water Festival and continue to host the modern event today.
everybody. I am Mayor Molly, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all here today for our mini version of the Water Festival, and to celebrate our Native American friends and keep this wonderful, traditional festival, unique festival alive. As many of you may know, this water festival started way back in 1930 by some businessmen in Coopville that wanted to have an event that would bring tourists over from the mainland. And when they had that festival back in the 30s, there was dozens of canoes in the cove, and parades, and pretty baby contests, and sack races, and literally thousands of people came to that festival. Can you imagine the journey that must have been for both the tribes and the visitors to come over in the 1930s? The Water Festival has changed and grown over the years, and it has become a celebration of Native food, song, dance, music, storytelling. A wonderful educational aspect to it now, where we learn the importance of taking care of our water resources and our water habitat and our aquifer and our groundwater, and we all really need to honor the care of our water resources on an island. It also is a chance for us, has been in the past, a chance for us to get to see firsthand and experience firsthand Native canoe races from tribes all over the Salish Sea, which is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's not very many times that you have a chance to do that. And we're all really hoping to see the canoe races come back next year. So just want to thank all of our Native artists and friends for being with us today. Thank the volunteers, and welcome you all to have, hope you all have a nice day today on this brisk, beautiful day in Coopville. Thank you.
What Molly doesn't mention, she was part of the board and part of the group that when the WSU Beach Watchers, after I had left and they decided not to continue the water festival, and it looked like it was going to go away, a small group of us got together to keep it going, and Molly was among that group and did a lot of hard work for the water festival. So the next thing we have for you is a delightful musical set from Rana Yellowrobe, who has performed at the Water Festival several times and is one of everyone's favorites. Her, along with her musical partner, Bruce Witham, they played this year, and Cindy was able to record this and also make use of a beautiful music video that goes along with this awesome song. Rana is an award-winning Native American singer and songwriter, and also known not only for her beautiful voice, but her wonderful Native American flute playing. Bruce owns a recording studio in Tacoma and contributes instrumental accompaniments to Rana, and they've been creating music together since 2008. Please enjoy not only the beautiful music, but just the heartfelt presence from Rana and Bruce in this following song.
Hi, welcome. It's so good to be here at Penn Cove Water Festival. Woo! Yeah, so good to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming out and being with us. Looks like we got a little bit of sun. And just gonna go ahead and start off before I introduce you to a song called, finish introducing myself with a song that we have called Crystal Voyage. Nation of the Chippewa Cree tribe. My family is First Nation Cree from Canada, from Saskatchewan. My mom and my grandmother come from a little reserve right outside of Regina called Pied Pot. And my grandmother came into the States, particularly Seattle at first, because she went blind and she was learning how to do Braille. And so following my grandmother's name was Mary Buffalo, and she ended up staying in the States in Montana, where she was one of the first enrolled members of the Chippewa Cree tribe of Rocky Boy, Montana. Following her was my mother Lucille, who met my father Joe Yellowrobe, and here we are. So this is this is my Bruce Witham, my music partner Bruce Witham, and Bruce Witham was born in Maryland, and but he considers himself a Washingtonian. So please give a hand, because the music you're going to be hearing is going to be coming from a lot from the studio and the talents that Bruce has. So yeah, so good to see you all out there. It's good to see my family, good to see friends, good to see, hi Pam, good to see you. Pam gave me some tickets to go see Melissa Etheridge. I was like, woo! It's the first time I got to see her, so good to see you all. My friends that traveled over across the ferry, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us. And for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I'm really grateful that you're here. I hope you enjoy this set that we have for you. And the first song I'm going to play for you is off of our album, our first album that Bruce and I did together, and it's called Voice of the Trees. Voice of the Trees was a song that kind of was inspired probably about 24 years ago. I was walking down Elki Beach. I was in a place where I couldn't go back to where I came from, but I was afraid to go forward. And as I was walking, because you learn to hear that voice, that spirit speaking to you within, right? And it was my first year of sobriety, and I remember the voice saying, Rana, do you see that tree over there? Yeah, I see that tree. And Rana, do you believe that that tree belongs here? Well, of course I believe that tree belongs here. Do you believe, Rana, that you belong here, like that you believe that tree belongs here? And I began to weep, because at that point my for you today to play this song called Voice of the Trees, if I may.
Ah, that's just such a beautiful song and video. What a talented woman. Look for her and her CDs and support these great musicians. So next is another favorite of the Penn Cove Water Festival and of Orca Month. The Tsimshian Hayuk dancers have performed at the festival for many years. And they performed at one of our live Orca Month kickoff events in Seattle back in those days when we could do live events. They are wonderful, and they always involve people in their music and dancing and educate as they play incredible music and share their culture. Members of the Tsimshian Hayuk dancers are from the Tsimshian tribe along the northern coast of BC and Canada and southeast Alaska. The purpose of the group is to serve as an outlet for Tsimshian culture and to bring awareness of their culture to the general public and to other tribes. You will definitely enjoy this bit of footage from the Tsimshian Hayuk dancers, and we have more for you a little later today.
My name's Elliot Nathan Jr. I'm the dance group leader of the dancers and drummers that you see in front of you, better known as the Tsimshian Hayuk. Our regalia is what we wear when we're performing. Now, traveling for many years, it's been commonly mistaken as costumes. Please don't call these costumes. Everyone knows what Halloween is, right? Kids out there, you know what Halloween is, right? It's a fun time of year when you get to dress up and be something that you're not. That's why these aren't costumes. This is who we are. This is what we represent as Tsimshian people. So when we're singing and dancing, our elders that have passed away look down upon us, say, look at them, they're doing it right. They're singing loud, they're drumming proud, and they show off what they're wearing by our traditional regalia. Now, a lot of these regalia that we wear is handmade. There's very distinct deities or clan crests on our button robes. I'll explain that in a song a little later on in the program. Lucky Boo, and that's me. I was wearing the wolf mask, and I have a wolf robe and a wolf apron. Wolf. There is Gishpudwada. That's the killer whales, the killer whale clan, or the blackfish. Drew? If my younger daughters can come up there by their auntie real quick and turn around. Now, we have special circumstances to where you get to wear other crests and other clans. My wife was adopted by a Haida elder, so they actually have permission to wear this design, which is actually a Thunderbird. But their mother, my wife, is actually part of the Raven clan, the Ganhada. That's the third. So we have wolf, killer whale, and ravens so far. I think the only one we have, if my cousin come out here next, my sister as well, another one of those special circumstances, she's actually a relative on the Haida side, so she actually has a Haida frog on her robe. But she is of the double-headed eagle clan, and that's the fourth clan, is the eagle, or the Lakshki. So the first couple songs that we did is our Coming Into the House song. That's called Talani Shah, kind of a proud, very proud Tsimshian song. Pretty common, generations and generations ago. If we were coming to this community via water or even one of the trails, we'd be chanting or singing in song, sharing stories. We're just letting the villagers know, hey, here we are, we're coming in peace, we don't mean any harm. It's our Coming Into the House song later. The next song that we're gonna do is our welcome song. This one's called Teen. Teen in our language means come in. Don't be afraid, we have a place set for you. And we'll sing and we'll dance and we'll feast. This is our welcome song. Teen. Performing, practicing is one thing. You know, we goof around, we have a good time, we make our mistakes, but when we're out here performing and I get to see everything that we've worked so hard for come together, seeing their smiles, seeing their energy, that makes me continue for the next generation. This next song is actually one of the first songs that I learned by heart without the songbook or without the videos. It's pretty important. Like I was explaining at the beginning, our button robes is a piece of our regalia. The material itself probably came through in trade in Canada and Southeast Alaska about 200 or 300 years ago. Same with the buttons that we use. But you see a lot of the cedar that we use as well. The button robes themselves, you're going to see the dancers. They have their backs turned to you, not in disrespect. but they're going to show off who they are. As they're dancing by, see if you can remember what clans I talked about earlier and what clan, what house they belong to as they dance by. This is our button robe song. Button robe in our language is Guishnampala. This is our Guishnampala song.
All right, we'll come back to more of the wonderful Tsimshian dancers later in today's program. Right now, we have a really awesome program that has been taking place called the Salmon Stories, and it's a project of the Salmon Nation. We were very pleased and excited that our own Cindy Hansen applied for a fellow to be a part of this project and was accepted and has done some really cool interviews that will be seen later in the program. But right now we're going to start with some of the Canadian First Nations stories. So this whole project is a collection of personal narratives from across the whole bioregion that support the understanding that the fight for wild salmon is about much more than fish. It's about culture and community, livelihood, sustainability, life. Video interviews were curated and produced by several Salmon Story Fellows, along with Cindy Hansen. So, right, these two stories will highlight the importance of salmon to the First Nations. The first comes from Shaka of the Naquatqua people in the Fraser River. He shares his personal story about the devastating impacts of the declining fish populations on the culture and self-sufficiency of his community. The second salmon story comes from Lenny Skookum John, a member of the Ahusat Nation. He tells the story of the salmon's traditional role in his culture and reflects on the idea of protecting the land and waters for 7 future generations. I just really love that project. And as we say, coming up later, we'll have more of the salmon stories to share with you. So we have one more short video before we take a little break so everyone can stand up and scratch or drink or eat or whatever you need to do. we have James Madison from the Tulalip tribe. He's a master carver, but works in many art mediums, including glass and metal. He began learning to carve from his grandfather when he was 8 years old. He received a bachelor degree in fine arts from the UW, University of Washington, and the Pratt School of Fine Arts. His goal is to keep his culture alive through his art, and he enjoys combining the old and the new and adding modern twists to traditional pieces. He cares deeply about Mother Earth and all of the creatures that inhabit her, and he hopes to send a message of healing and restoration through his art. If you've been through the new Mukilteo ferry terminal, you will have seen one of his beautiful pieces, the big glass piece that is on the water side of the building. It's just incredible. A lot of the work he's done at Orca fin out of metal at Edmonds Community College, I believe. And just his beliefs about orcas and salmon and how to, how they're connected and how to take care of the earth are just so wonderful. And we had hoped to have a longer interview with him, but he's been working on a totem pole deadline and it wasn't a good time for him. So we're hoping that in October, when we celebrate Orca Salmon Month, at a time when the southern residents come down into Puget Sound after salmon, that we can get a longer interview with James to talk about his culture and his family history and his connection to salmon and the orcas. But here is a great video about James and his art.
My name is James Madison. I'm a member of the Tulalip tribes. And this is my art. For me, not until I was later years in my high school career, I started really getting into the art and creating and doing what I do now. Started working on carvings at my grandfather's house. That's where everything started for me. Learning my culture, my art, my history, who my family is, who my people are, where I come from, who I'm related to. Everything started at Grandpa's house. My two boys, when they're a lot younger, I made sure that I was teaching them carving and drawing. I got a couple nephews that are interested. I'm glad that my nephews are asking, and definitely would like to do more in the community. With my art, I do a lot of different mediums. I do a lot of carving, I do a lot of bronze casting, do some metal fabrication is what this piece is here. So, in short, everything comes from my mind, comes from a story, a purpose, history. To be an artist, I think everything comes from inside, and in all, I think expressing yourself, expressing what you want to say is very important. If I'm carving wood, I kind of dream about it during the day, dream about it during the night. It kind of just comes to me naturally. I don't force the design or what I'm going to make. It's kind of like seeing ghosts inside a piece of wood, and I have to remove what doesn't belong to bring that image out or that body out. That's kind of how it is for me. It's kind of supernatural. It's kind of, there's not really words to explain, but it's more spiritual for me. It'll always be wood just because of the spiritual connection I have with it and the way I grew up. But I love metal, I love glass, and I love stone. But wood would be definitely, carving wood would be definitely #1 for me. I think the main thing that inspires me is my 2 sons, Jaden and Jevin Madison. And also, now it's Mother Earth of all things. Protecting her, protecting creatures, animals, orcas, salmon. Those are our big part of our culture. So as an artist, I want to speak out about, orca whales and what we call blackfish and salmon, and how important they are to us and how important they are to our culture and how important they are to human beings. Every art piece that I do has a story to it, has a meaning, has a purpose to it. This piece here is about my 2 boys. It's about, the title is family, and it's about, me and my 2 sons and how close I am to them and how close they are to me, and we're a big team and we do everything together. And it's also about spreading awareness about orca whales and salmon and protecting them and protecting, our waters, the Salish Sea. And so my purpose of doing art these days beyond my kids is, spreading a good word on, Mother Earth, and how we need to protect her.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did, and hopefully we'll be able to hear more from James this fall. He's very talented and wonderful young man. So I want to, we're gonna take a little break. Let's see, we can come back at about 5:35. So we can all stretch and get something cold to drink. Before we leave, I just want to mention that there's another Orca Month event on Thursday, June 30th, our closing event from 6 to 7 p.m. It will also be virtual, hosted by the Bold Action Coalition, of which Orca Network is a part, and WDC. So we hope you will join us then as well. And I also have to mention that Orca Network and Orca Month are only possible thanks to contributions from people like you. So if you have enjoyed today and appreciate the things we are doing, you can make a donation through our website at orcanetwork.org, and you can put in the note whether you want it for general purposes, for Orca Month, or for any of our Orca Network programs. We truly appreciate all of the people who contribute to us, who volunteer for us, and who give us grants, so we're able to keep on doing all the things we're doing. So go grab something cold to drink, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay. I hope everyone had a little bit of a break and a chance to stretch or scratch yourself or your dog or whatever needed it, and you're ready to come back for the last half of our event. Again, I'm just really thrilled and honored that so many of you are willing to stay inside on this very warm day in the Northwest. So I wanted to mention in the chat, there are some great conversations going, and Cindy has put the link to the Orca Month event for the 30th. So if you want to attend that, that's right there in the chat. So we are moving on to part 4 of our event. We're going to start with another set from the Tsimshian Hayuk dancers. And this is my favorite thing that they do at the Water Festival, and they did it at our Orca Month event in Seattle as well, where they had the 4 crests of the Tsimshian people, and they involve the audience in this dance. I hope all of you are able to see them live and get to see this and be a part of it someday.
So what we're setting up for now, and I'm going to put my brother Brandon on the spot. Our dancers are on the grass in 4 different locations. Brittany, raise your hand. Brittany over here, she's killer whale. My sister, Wolf. Dawn, she's helping me out. She's gonna play the eagle. And then my buddy Brandon and my nephew Jerome was gonna play Raven. This song and dance is called an invitational. You know what that means. We are asking you, we Tsimshian Hayuk is asking you, our audience, to come join us in song and dance. Anybody? Now I got my buddy Brandon, if his wife wants to join us, join one of the 4 clans. They'll show you how to dance that style. I'm gonna call out each clan one at a time. They're gonna come out to the middle, they're gonna dance their style, strut their stuff, and make their way back to the staging area. At the very end of the song, you're gonna hear me yell, "Kani get." Kani get in our language means everybody. It's gonna be like a little Tsimshian mosh pit right here in the middle. No stage diving today though. No stage diving. It's frowned upon in Washington State now. Why what? That means let's go. Like at the beginning with our entrance song and then our welcome song, at the end of our performances, we do a song called Demalgik Nietsen. Traveling the country, getting to know other cultures, come to find out, I think English, the American language, is one of the only languages in the world that says goodbye. We say Demalgik Nietsen, which translates to we'll see you again. The song itself will translate to be careful on your journey, we'll see you again. Paddle your canoes with care, we'll see you again. And we'll get together and sing and dance and feast, we'll see you again. Now, most of you, I mean, everyone knows now, not most of you, everyone knows, you know, like I said, this past couple of years, 2 or 3 years, has been really tough. Emotionally, physically, financially, everything has been very, very challenging. So I'm once again feeling very privileged to be standing out here in this beautiful weather, sharing songs and dances, and hopefully guiding or maybe teaching a little bit of our culture through song and dance. So it's not goodbye, we'll see you again. This is our song, Demalgik Nietsen. Demalgik Nietsen, Demalgik Nietsen, Amity Willow Walsham, Tisbaligi Asham, Ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hey-ah, hey-hee-yay, ha. Demalgik Nietsen, Demalgik Nietsen, Demalgik Walsham, Adadim Giglemium, ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hey-ah, hey-hee-yay, ha. Demalgik Nietsen, Demalgik Nietsen, Amity Willow Wild, Datim Show, ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hee-yay, ha-hee-yay, ha, ha-hey-ah, hey-hee-yay, ha.
Okay, now we are back to the importance of salmon to southern resident orcas. Much of what we have seen and heard today has been about the importance of salmon to the Coast Salish peoples. And now it's a very similar sort of thing where the southern resident orcas have their own culture around salmon. The transient or Biggs orcas who only eat marine mammals don't care about salmon. They don't mean anything to them. But to the southern resident orcas, they depend on salmon, mainly Chinook salmon, for their survival. And that's why salmon restoration is so important. And it is, like it is with the Salish people, salmon is central to their lives and their livelihood and their survival. So I would like to introduce the next video of Howard Garrett. You may have spotted him in the previous video dancing around. Whoops. Sorry, I had another thing I need to get rid of here. Apologies for that. Sorry about that, little technical glitch. Howard will be talking about his favorite two things, southern resident orcas and culture in orcas. And I did want to note that this is, excuse me, was recorded last year and has been updated to include the newest J podcast born this year, J59. And I did, in the chat, I put the link for last year's event, the 2-day event for the playlist. So if your interest was sparked this year and you want to look at what we did last year, we had many awesome events as part of our 2-day Coast Salish Salmon and Orca Culture event. So without further ado, here is Howard Garrett talking about culture and the importance of salmon to southern resident orcas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coast Salish Salmon and Orca Cultures. This will be a quick overview of the orca culture part of that picture. So I will move right along to the presentation. This is where we're talking about. This is the Salish Sea as seen from the space station. And this, of course, is coastal Salish orca and salmon cultures. So it does apply up and down the coast, wherever there are salmon and native cultures out, also looking for those salmon and sharing these waters. So this is called Coast Salish Salmon and Orca Culture. So just to give a little historical perspective, thousands of years ago, as ice melted, rivers began to pour, and the trees grew along the rivers, the salmon streamed up the rivers, sensing the fresh water and finding places to spawn and replenish and propagate their populations. And about the same time, the first peoples, the first humans, began to settle in all along the coast. And of course, they found these salmon as beautiful and very abundant. And they were water people. They went everywhere by canoe. We do know that these were canoe cultures. They went to visit relatives, to forage, to hunt, to move to seasonal settlements by canoe. Hop in the canoe and take off. It was all connected by waterways, and that was how they traveled. So they were in the realm of the orcas and had no doubt many face-to-face encounters with the orcas, which were here too as cultures, as families, as extended kinship associations and populations that the native cultures would have interfaced with and met with and gotten to know and I'm sure there was mutual curiosity, and they would, I can only speculate because I assume that the orcas were curious about the humans and vice versa, and so they got very friendly. They began to know individuals and families and would see them grow over the years and over the generations, and it was a very intimate relationship. And so it's really no surprise that the Lummi word for orca is Queltomachin, which means people who live under the sea. And they were what we now know as the Southern residents. They've been here for 10,000 years as well, probably more. And they are different. They are a completely intact, genetically cohesive community, a very large extended family. They used to be much larger, probably over 200, 200 to 300 is the normal size for an orca population around the world. And that is probably about the population that they sustained for thousands of years. And they are different. And this is not really a scientific determination. It's what I understand from having observed other people's work around the world, that the southern resident orcas are different in several ways. They're more active. They tend to be more surface active, more splashing, more all kinds of acrobatics, from breaching to tail lobbing to cartwheeling in every direction to belly flopping, everything that is possible. They have been known to do, and then some. And they're more social. They tend to congregate, and they tend to want to apparently be together a lot in the largest groupings with the most kin, often in what is called a super pod, where the different pods from within the community of southern residents come together. And when they do that, they're often just socializing. They're not there to forage. They're there to be together. And you can see, you can feel the enjoyment, the enthusiasm that they show when they're together. And they're more playful in those times, and really almost any time. They tend to just break out into these frolicsome, playful activities, kind of rolling around on each other, a lot of tactile, kinetic, action going on. And it's fascinating to watch, especially the kids, the young ones, the juveniles. They'll often play together or with their moms or relatives, and just they just seem to want to play. They kind of jump on each other. And they're more curious. They seem to want to look around. They seem to want to get to know who's looking at them and what's around. It's hard to tell what exactly they're looking around for, but often when people are in the neighborhood in boats or on shore, they'll take a look at them. I mean, just passing by. They don't necessarily stop and want to have a party with them, but they'll take a look. They're curious. And of course, southern residents have more open saddle patches. That's a genetic thing, but it shows up more often in the resident fish-eating types all along the Pacific Rim, from here to Alaska to Kamchatka, more than in the other type, the transients or big killer whales that are found around here also, which is where we get into the cultures coming right up. And the southern residents are almost always, when they're not intensely socializing, they're hunting. They're looking for salmon. They're trying to find those fish that are more and more elusive, more and more scattered, more and more in decline and hard to find, and so scarce in these waters. So they're often spread out over, it can be miles. This photo gives a sense of how they look when they're foraging over a wide area, but it can be 5 or more miles of orcas that, of course, are in touch with each other. They're able to echolocate, they're able to communicate over those distances, but they're looking in every nook and cranny. They're desperately searching for salmon. And when they don't find enough, they suffer reproductive failure is one of the main indications that they're just not getting enough nutrition, enough calories, which means enough salmon, especially the Chinook salmon, which have been found to be about 80% of their diet. So they're searching always for those Chinook salmon or a few other species, not all, they are fairly picky eaters. Coho and chum salmon is just about it, and some other assorted fishes every now and then, but basically they're looking for Chinook salmon. And when they don't find them, when they don't get those calories, the pregnant females are not able to provide for their developing young. And if the young are even born, they are often not going to last very long, especially this one, Tahlequah's baby, who is named T. Tahlequah by our Samish friends, died at birth, basically, and was carried by her mom, J35 Tahlequah, for 17 or more, maybe up to 19 days in July and August of 2018, which was concurrent with the governor's task force on restoring Southern residents. So it was very timely, and it was broadcast around the world. As many have noted, it was the grief felt around the world. So looking back at the field studies, they really began in the early 1970s in Canada by Dr. Mike Bigg, who was tasked by the Canadian government to conduct a survey to find out how many orcas there were. There was really nothing else known about them than they lived out there, and the prevailing beliefs were that they were dangerous. And that they were fierce, not only predators, but competitors for the salmon. So the government wanted to know how many there were, was that population being depleted? And that began the studies. And it wasn't until about 10 years later, in 1980, in the very early 80s, that John Ford did some acoustic recordings and discovered that the different pods made different sounds, and that the different communities, more startling even, made completely different sounds, completely different vocabularies of calls, of communication signals that they made to each other. So that was, very shocking, really, to the scientific community. And then about 10 years later, he and many others that studied the diets of the different populations made it official in a paper about two sympatric populations of killer whales, meaning the transients and the residents, that had completely different diets, mutually exclusive. The residents eat fish, the transients eat mammals, and that really is earth-shattering in the scientific community because they are sympatric. They are in the same habitat. They cross paths, fully aware of each other, and yet they have completely different diets. And that is only an indication, it's one of the starkest, but it's only an indication of the completely different cultural repertoires, the behaviors that each demonstrate. And as John, again, he was always in the right place at the right time and did the right studies. And as he said, these animals are creatures of tradition. They learn as a calf what constitutes food and how to catch it. And that is the very definition of culture, is learning behaviors. And that also applies, of course, then to the mating practices. So the mating and the diets and the communications are all determined by culture, by what is learned, not instinct. And one of the things that is in their cultures is to share their prey. They very often share prey, especially moms with her offspring. But it is a widespread practice to share the fish that they find. And that helps explain why during the decline, the 20% drop in population between 1995 and 2001, that it wasn't the old and the young that died so much. They were provided for. It was across the board. It was sort of evenly in the population. It indicates that the healthy ones able to catch more fish shared those fish. Also, part of culture in the southern residents is apparently to wear a fish. Occasionally, just for a while, it's like a fad that wears out after a short while, and it seems to be mainly the juveniles, and the game seems to be, how long can I keep this fish on my head? So there's no good biological explanation for that, but it seems to be a cultural, peer group bonding experience that they share. So this is what announced for the world, basically, that these orcas live in cultures. Culture in whales and dolphins in 2001 summed it all up, studied every known documented population of whales around the world, humpbacks, pilot whales, sperm whales, and orcas. And what they wrote in their abstract really did the world, which was the complex and stable vocal and behavioral cultures of sympatric groups of killer whales appear to have no parallel outside humans and represent an independent evolution of culture. That is really earth-shattering, and that has sort of set the stage for the field studies that have gone on around the world to document and describe all these cultures in the Antarctic, the North Atlantic, the South Pacific, everywhere that you find orcas, and they are everywhere around the world. They are looked at now as cultures, each one intact. Each individual is a member of a culture. And that is really a resounding new paradigm. And around here, of course, we have the northern residents on the north end of Vancouver Island and up around Haida Gwaii in southeast Alaska. And the transients, the bigs, killer whales, named in honor of Mike Big. And the transients and residents, as I mentioned, are so distinct in their diets, in their group size, in their vocalizations, slightly different morphology, a little different sizes, fin shapes. And of course, transients have no open saddles. That's one way. And genetic studies show they've been distinct for at least 700,000 years while crossing paths and able to interbreed, but not interbreeding. There's really no interaction between them at all. And of course, they don't compete for food because they have distinct and separate diets. So that is sympatric speciation. They are each becoming their own separate species over the generations. And then we also have the offshores, which are most related to the residents, but have been distinct again for hundreds of thousands of years. And they're found out along the shelf, 25 or 30 miles out. Very difficult to study out in that open ocean, but their diet has been determined to be mainly sleeper sharks. And they have come in, but it's been really a couple of decades since they've come into the Salish Sea. They stay out well beyond the coast. And this is the classic illustration poster by Uko Gorter of the different types around the world. The northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, So the fish eaters, the mammal eaters, the penguin eaters, the toothfish eaters, minke whales are prey for some, herring, everywhere that you look, there are different diets, and each community has a very specific diet. Certain animals that they will eat and without overlap. They don't eat each other's food. Now around here, of course, we're back to the Chinook, and sad story there is that they are in crisis. Snake River Chinook have declined to near zero. They're winking out right now. They're about to disappear if something isn't done very, very soon to restore the Snake River and allow for those Chinook populations in the Snake River watershed. And that's not just another run of salmon. The Snake River amounted to about half of the production of Chinook salmon of the entire Columbia Basin. And the Columbia Basin was the largest salmon producing watershed in certainly this coast and probably the world, and was the mainstay, the primary source of salmon for southern residents for those 10,000 or more years. Now they're almost gone. So the wild salmon need to be brought back. And of course, that's true of Puget Sound Chinook too, also in crisis, according to the Washington DFW. There are many rivers that produced a lot of Chinook cumulatively, but they are all pretty much disappeared. Salmon are already extinct in 40% of their historical range. And now, of course, the Fraser River salmon have also crashed. So the orcas are not coming in the usual spring and summer when the Fraser River salmon are running, because they're not here for them. They're somewhere out on the coast, and we can only hope and pray that they are finding salmon. But those salmon themselves have declined in size. Used to be sometimes up to 80 pounds or more, but averaging probably around 20 pounds 50 years ago, and now averaging more like 10 pounds. So that is a very sad statement on what their diminished habitat has done to the salmon. But I don't want to just leave you on that note, because we do have some new babies, some new calves that have been born in the last couple of years. February 2021, this year, new calf, L125, born to L86. And in September last year, less than a year ago, two babies were born. J57 and J58 were both born. And in May of 2019, just 2 years ago, baby J56 was born. And others were born in January of that year, two others. So we have a lot of new babies, and by all reports, which are not that many reports in recent months because they've been out along the coast, so we don't really have a lot of continual updates on the population, but they do seem to be doing well. All the calves are so far surviving, and that is very, very good news. And in February of this year, J37 Heiska, which means thank you, had J59, her second calf. J59 is a female. Thank you, and enjoy Orca Month.
I'm Michael Weiss.
Okay, I think we have time for a few questions. If there are any questions, you can put them in the chat or in the Q&A box. We don't have a lot of time, but we do have Howie here if you have any questions.
It looks like they've been pretty well answered here. The ones I see about saddle patches.
Yeah, there's been some good things going on in the chat, so I encourage everyone to look at that. what I will do, I will introduce the next part and we'll see if there's any questions before by the time I'm done, and if not, we'll move on to more salmon stories. This part, we're going to show salmon stories, two that were created by Cindy Hansen, who received the fellowship to record and submit these videos. The first one is from Dr. Michael Weiss, the research director for the Center for Whale Research. Michael completed his PhD in animal behavior in the UK's University of Exeter in 2020, after receiving his bachelor's degree in biology from Reed College in 2016. He has been overseeing the Center for Whale Research's aerial observation study since 2018, using drones to study killer whale social organization and underwater behavior from a new perspective. In this salmon story, Michael discusses prey sharing among southern resident orcas and shares his hope for recovery of salmon and orcas. The second salmon story comes from Rosie Caillou James and Bill Bailey, who we saw at the beginning of this event doing the blessing. This video, they will be performing a salmon ceremony on behalf of the southern resident orcas to offer them strength and healing. Okay, I don't see any questions, so we'll move on with salmon stories.
I'm Michael Weiss. I'm a biologist at the Center for Whale Research, and I'm also a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom. I don't remember a time when I wasn't interested in whales and in killer whales. It's kind of just been a constant thing in my life. So what our research has really shown about the social structure of killer whales, some we already knew, which is that they have this really intense matrilineal social system. So you stay in your mom's group for your whole life. And what we've also been finding is that they have these really close relationships outside of their matriline. And so they have these friends that they make outside of their family, usually friends who are the same sex or a similar age. And one of the main ways those social relationships, both within the family and we're finding actually across family units, is expressed is by sharing salmon. The question of kind of why you would share outside of your close kin circle when you yourself might not have enough fish is a really interesting one. I mean, I think it's the same reason we help our friends, right? If you have social relationships and you care about those other, your friends and your family, you're going to share with them, maybe even especially when times are hard, right? There were two moments of prey sharing this last year that I think were the most surprising for me. The first, in the moment, we were watching the L54 subgroup. So that's L54, her two sons, and then an unrelated adult male. First, we just had L54 and her two sons traveling together, and we didn't know where the big guy was. And then we see this, big shape of a whale coming up with a big fish in his mouth, and we notice him biting it in half. The biggest part goes to L54, kind of the matriarch. She takes it, she breaks that part even further up, and some of that goes back to her two sons. So we have this kind of chain of sharing, starting with this adult male and ending with these two younger males. This was surprising in the moment for us. He is not related to these three other whales. He travels with them, they're his main social group, but he's not related to them. The second one, this adult female, shares a fish with J51 and J58. And we're like, oh, that's really lovely. That's a mom catching a fish and then sharing it with her two kids. Only to go back and rewatch the footage later and realize that wasn't J41 sharing, that was J22. The whale, again, not related to these two young whales. She did, honestly, the majority of the work. She took that fish and then shared it with those two, despite especially the youngest whale there, J58, kind of messing up the hunt as it was happening. It felt like a really special moment to be there for. This this whale taking the time to, use her experience to help out two younger kids and make sure they get some food. There's increasingly movement, I think, in the scientific side of it and on the policy side to really recognize how central salmon are and how it goes beyond any one issue. I think it's a really long, hard road to start going down, but even the fact that it's a thing I hear people talking about gives me hope. From the scientific side of it, something that gives me hope is that salmon are very good at surviving and reproducing. All we need to do is to give them the opportunity to come back. With the killer whales, obviously they don't have the benefit that the salmon have of producing a bunch of offspring all at once. What they do have is decades and decades of knowledge. They know how to find fish, they know how to hunt fish, they know how to take care of each other. All they need, again, much like the salmon, is for us to give them a chance.
What the ceremony today meant to me was the need for medicine in the sea, the need for the empathetic energy that went along with the medicine, that it picks up the spirits of the water, that Tokate and L-Pod, K-Pod, they can feel that they have our support, they have our love.
Good day, everyone. My name is Sambar. I come from Salish, and I'm traveling here today with some of my kin from Salish. And we're all here to bring strength to the Kokolmachan. And so I want to have us start off by singing the Salish anthem from Chichi and George, and I'd like to ask everyone who knows this song to join in. It is true that the orcas are our relatives of the deep water. They are our relatives. Are we related? How are we related? We both need healthy salmon. We both need healthy water. In those terms of survival, that's all that matters. We're related. We're kin with the orca. We both have the exact same needs, and our spirits are here to help each other today. And that's what this work is here for, and I'm really grateful for those who thought of this work and had it in their hearts to pull everyone together, and everyone that's here. So I raise my hands to everyone.
It's like
Okay, we are working on answering a few questions that came up, but it is now time to go to our last and final part of our event. Only about a half an hour left. You guys are awesome, hanging in there through all this on a beautiful day. So this is our closing and a call to action. Our next video is from the Spirit of the Waters Totem Journey. We have had the pleasure and amazing experience of being part of an earlier House of Tears Carvers Totem Journey for Tokitai in events in Washington and California and Miami. And these totem journeys are an amazing way to spread the word about cultural and environmental issues. And the current totem journey, which began in May, it traveled across Washington and Oregon in support of the indigenous-led movement to remove the lower Snake River dams and restore the salmon runs to health, as well as their relatives, the southern resident orcas called Kwahulmachitan, that depend on the salmon. The following clip is from the event that took place in Seattle, featuring Doug James, Sit Kakadam, one of the lead carvers at the House of Tears Carvers of the Lummi Nation.
It's like that whale that pushed her baby for 17 days. That's what that little baby's representing here. This is what's representing the one that's down in this aquarium, that sea prison. This is why she was carved, because our elders said that's one of ours. It's one of our residents. She was stolen from the San Juan Islands when she was 4 years old. Been in that sea prison ever since. A 30 by 80 foot pond, 20 feet deep. It's been put on all of our shoulders to stand together. We had an orca that pushed her babies, like it was said, and that's why this baby's here. We were realizing when we started this journey on the 3rd, and it's going to be our last day tomorrow. It's going to be 17 days we traveled across this earth trying to get the message out. We didn't realize it. We didn't even plan it, but that's how it all came down. Just the same way she pushed her baby through the water, we pushed this baby across the land, reaching out to the tribes and saying we got to stand united. We're standing with these ones that are opening up the doors to say it's time to remove them dams. So I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. There's a reason every one of you are here, that the Creator's telling you it's time to come together. We had a whale that died upon our beaches in the early 90s. And when she died, the last few heartbeats that she had, we heard this song that she was leaving with us. That song is called the Ike Swallowin'. Ike Swallowin'. And it was telling us to be of one heart and one mind. We used that song across this country on the healing pole journey to New York. We used it on the journey to Shanksville for Flight 93. Pentagon pole. Calling people to come together with one heart and one mind. We're calling you together today with one heart and one mind. The same way, to stand in unity. Put our differences aside. Because it's our children, your children, that matter here today. What kind of water are they going to have? What kind of food are they going to have? There's no more water, there's no more vegetables. So we have to make a decision on what you want to do today.
Like Sasiat, my brother says, fill out that card, send it out to these ones that are in positions. That's all we're asking. That's all of us have been trying to say for a long time now. Stand in unity. We're spiritual beings that come to the earth to have a human experience. We're spiritual beings that come to the earth to have a human experience. These are on loan to us. Let's make the best of it. Gian. This brother has been standing with us throughout this whole journey. And this is what it's all about. Shasiat! Okay.
Yeah, you can take everything.
I hear him. This is the ice swallowing. And this the one that came from the minke whale back in the early 90s. It goes like this. swallowing. Let your voices be heard. Visualize a pebble thrown into the pond and how it ripples out. That ripple is going to go in all directions. And it's going to make a difference. We've been witnessing a lot of things over the years that we've traveled across this country. Like my brother Sasias says, you know, we've traveled for over 20 years. I asked our friend Kurt Russo, hey Kurt, can you calculate the miles that we had over the years? Yeah, I'll get back to you. Gets back and says, yeah, you got enough to go around the earth twice. And I believe it, you know, because last year we put 23,000 miles on our trucks. Reaching out to all sacred sites across this country to save them. Save these sacred sites because they really do matter. That's all we have left. Don't take them from us. And that's what we've been crying out, you know, saying, these are our sacred places that we pray. We pray for the Creator to watch over Turtle Island. Because Turtle Island is saying, we've seen it once before. She can shake us off like a dog shaking off fleas, and she can go on without us. But we can't go on without her. Let your voices be heard. Thank you.
Whoops. Well, as always, Sitka Tatum is so inspiring. And after watching this video and his call to action, we want to end by having another song from Rana Yellow Robe from the Pen Cove Water Festival this year. And this one is one most of you will recognize. We encourage you to sing along. We'll all be singing along as well. And it's the kind of song and heart and mind that we need today in our polarized and divided nation. And with all the violence in the world, the racism, political polarity, everything that's going on around us, there can be hope and inspiration. And we hope today has brought some of that to you. We want to play this beautiful rendition of this song, taking a message of peace, hope, and cooperation, so we can all feel this, pray with it, have this spirit in our hearts to take with us beyond today.
Get together, and so you can join us for those of you that know it. Come on, people, now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. I'll kind of guide you through it. So join with me. I know you know it. If you don't, you'll catch on pretty quick. This is Get Together.
Just one key unlocks them all. It's there at your command. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Hey, come on, people now. Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now. Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love one another right now. Right now. Right now.
That's such a beautiful song and a sentiment that's needed now more than ever. I want to invite Cindy and Katie back on the camera. Thank them for all their hard work and being part of this. I tried to get them to come on and sing, but they wouldn't. But we just want to end by thanking you all to spend your day with us. And we hope this has inspired some interest in some of the many things that were covered here, and some inspiration and hope for the salmon, for the orcas, for the generations of indigenous knowledge, and for the native peoples who, like the salmon and the orcas, still struggle in today's world. So thank you again. We'll be sharing the link to the recording of this on our Orca Network and Penn Cove Water Festival Facebook pages and websites. And we'll also, again, post the link to last year's. I'm so thankful we have such an awesome Orca Network pod. We have many staff who work really hard to bring you all the programs that Orca Network is able to bring. So, big hugs to them, big hugs to all of you for being part of our pod. And my fundraising person will tell me that I should make one last plea for we do survive with your contributions and your support and your volunteerism. So if you want to volunteer for Orca Network, the Langley Whale Center, many of our events, just contact info@orcanetwork.org. And if you want to contact the Water Festival to volunteer for them, do that. And I will end with this slide. Let me share the screen. And in the spirit of what the Tsimshian dancers said that I borrowed for this slide, it's not goodbye. We'll see you again. And we hope to be doing one of these events again and hope you can join us. Thank you all for being part of our day. Hishka.
Thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
Hishka.
everyone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being a part of it.